Welcome, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar. Before we get started with our discussion, starting a restaurant in a post-pandemic world, we'd like to share some housekeeping items for you to keep in mind. All audience members are on listen-only mode, which means you are muted. We'll be monitoring audience engagement on the dashboard and do encourage you to participate by using the question pane. There'll be time for questions at the end of the presentation. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and you will receive a link in the following days if you'd like to revisit the content presented today. Now, without further delay, let me introduce Doug Radkey, who is President and Project Manager with KRG Hospitality, Inc. Thank you, Doug, for joining us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Amy. First off, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join me here today. My name is Doug Radkey, the president of KRG Hospitality, the author of the book Bar Hacks, also the international brand ambassador for a tech startup brand called Barventory. At KRG Hospitality, we really work with restaurants and bars and boutique hospitality brands throughout North America and also the Eastern Caribbean, facilitating the complete projects right from idea stage all the way through to grand opening and even beyond. So what does that even mean? It means that we work on taking an idea and turn it into a series of plans followed by organization, communication, action, and also development. So that's from feasibility studies, concept development plans, brand development, marketing, strategic business plans, through to the project alignment and management of designers and engineers, contractors, plus overseeing menu engineering, brand activation, team onboarding, team training, soft openings, grand openings, and everything else in between. And in fact, since about 2009, when we got started, we have actually become known as, quote, the hospitality startup experts. Every single day brings a new challenge, and I can honestly say that I love it, and I look forward to sharing some of those amazing insights with you here today on how to start a successful restaurant. So, since the COVID-19 pandemic hit, we have all been looking at a lot of what this industry will look like post-pandemic or even during the pandemic, pending how long we're going to be in this for. That's literally all we've been doing for the past, what has it been, 6 months or so. Now, I don't want to say that we have all the answers. We're all going through this together for the very first time, but we have studied the footprints, the layouts, the operations, the technology, the guest expectations and potential experiences to come up with what I want to share with you today. So make sure that you have your pen and notepad ready. There is a lot that we will be going over the next 55 minutes or so. But here's the truth. I truly believe that this industry is not going to be the same as it once was before. Remember back to when sadly, 9/11 happened and the airline industry and the way that we moved through the airport and the travel, it all essentially just changed forever. Nearly 20 years later, we're not every day. I think this pandemic is going to change how people interact both inside and just with restaurants, bars, and hotels, in general moving forward, and in addition to so many other industries as well. Sadly, there is going to be a lot of venues when looking at restaurants and bars specifically that will be sitting empty because they just went out of business during this pandemic. We've all heard the numbers in the news and from the trade associations, ranging from 20 to 30 to even 50% of independent restaurants have closed or could close. Where I'm located right now, just outside of Toronto in Canada, with the harsh winter months that are approaching, this will likely increase as the restrictions continue and the patios begin to close, and the same can be said for many of the northern states as well. That's going to be a lot of empty real estate, and that's the sad reality that we're in today. It's tough and it's scary out there, and I'm nearly sick to my stomach when I see story after story after story of small businesses closing. But here's the thing: we cannot continue down this doom and gloom road. The industry, in my opinion, will prevail, and quite honestly, some will come out of this even stronger if they plan and push forward now. The ones that are continuously on a successful path are the ones that have pivoted. They are the ones that had the correct systems in place before the pandemic hit. They're the ones that were hitting the above average profit margin. And as my one friend, Donald Burns has said, the coronavirus isn't your fault, but how you ran your restaurant before is. And that is the cold hard truth for currently operating venues. But what about starting a restaurant, a bar, a cafe, or entertainment type business right now in the current climate? And as we move forward, hopefully, what sooner than later into a post-pandemic landscape. Some may think or even flat out call you crazy. Why would you want to start a business in an industry that has so many government restrictions around it right now? Why would you want to start a business in an industry that has seen or will potentially see nearly half of its venues close? Here's the thing. There will be opportunity for investment and also new concepts with a solid return on that investment. I truly believe that, and since you're joining me here today, I am guessing that you believe in that as well. And that is what I want to focus on today. I want to help you align your vision and build up your confidence that now is actually a great time to get into this industry, despite what you see and also hear on the news. Since it takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months to truly go through the development of a successful brand, the fall and the winter months that are coming up may be the optimum time to actually begin planning and maximizing on that opportunity. But what those opportunities look like, however, will probably be a little bit different. The business model is going to be different. The revenue and menu mix will be different. The size of kitchens, bars and dining areas are going to be different. The design elements, they're going to change. The materials we use are going to change. The traditional flow and service sequence that you are accustomed to seeing when entering your favorite restaurant will likely change. Change is here, but here's the thing. We cannot fear or be scared of change. We have to adapt to change and look for those opportunities. That's really what a true entrepreneur or restaurateur does. When talking adapting and even pivoting, we must remember that adapting and pivoting is actually, conducive to short-term survival along with long-term resilience and also growth. Pivoting is really a lateral move that creates enough value not only for your customer, but for your brand. For example, on the restaurant side, concepts that will emerge strong are the quick serve restaurants right now and other concepts that have also pivoted and adopted multiple revenue streams such as catering, grocery, retail, setting up bodegas, meal kit programs, cocktail kits, curbside pickup, takeout, and also delivery. All of the things that consumers have adapted to and will likely continue to do so moving forward, even in a post-pandemic world. And when looking at that list, I'm not saying dine-in is dead or that bars and fine dining venues are dead. They can survive and also thrive, but they will be different. And when we shift to the consumer side of things, the truth is many people dislike cooking, and that is one thing that is not going to change. And as humans, we're also sociable. We want to get out and meet with friends again over food and drink, but because people really started cooking more at home over the past number of months, their appreciation for good food and the work that goes behind it is anticipated to rise. And this is going to put pressure on restaurant concepts moving forward to execute at an even higher level and translate that appreciation and anticipation with a new focus on their pricing strategy, their quality of food and beverage, and the overall experience they are offering. Consumers, as we believe here at KRG Hospitality, will not be as willing, however, to go out and eat like they were before the pandemic, at least for the foreseeable future, unless the overall restaurant experience is safe and really worth it for them. So how we plan and operate to meet these requirements needs to be adjusted. How we communicate and market ourselves with guests needs to be adjusted. How we plan new restaurants and concepts needs to be adjusted. But here's the secret. Strategic planning still holds the key to success. However, the same old thinking will result in the same old results. For example, they were profit margins. They were so thin leading into this pandemic. A 3 to 5% margin for the average restaurant or bar is simply not good enough. Despite the restrictions and the other challenges, that's a large part of why we are seeing the closure rates that we are today. There was a study done over the summer that found a high percentage of restaurants only had enough cash burn on hand to last 2 weeks. 2 weeks, that's it. They couldn't even get to the next month's rent period without financial assistance. We have to do better. We have to hit the reset button, and you have the opportunity right now to do that. We must all be looking at developing concepts and brands that can obtain 12 to 15% or more profit margins moving forward. Let me be clear, that is not a pipe dream or an unrealistic target. We must make these changes, that I've already mentioned. We must use this time as a reset for the traditional restaurant and bar business model. We must create a new normal for the industry. The previous one, it was obviously not working the way it should have been. Anyone on this session that has tried to get a loan, to start a restaurant, probably has likely hit a roadblock with, numerous red flags to get around. Banks and investors shouldn't be hesitant to lend to a restaurant or a bar type business. They should be excited and see the financial, potential of that restaurant or bar. Moving forward, the fundamentals of completing market feasibility studies, concept development plans, test drawings with space analysis, strategic business plans, detailed guest profiles, guest journey maps, complete marketing plans, elevated brand guides, financial playbooks with financial projections, assessments, and contingency plans. These are all of the important things that should be planned out well before even looking for a location and signing your lease. I'm telling you now, this will be even more important now than ever before. These are all of the important things that drive the fundamental characteristics for a successful restaurant or bar property, being scalable, sustainable, profitable, memorable, and consistent. So what do I mean by all that? Being scalable means that your concept is capable of being easily expanded or upgraded on demand. For example, providing your venue with a system designed to handle proportionally small, very small to very large usage and service levels almost instantly, and with no significant drop in cost effectiveness, functionality, performance, or reliability. Scalability also means providing an opportunity to pivot with market changes and positions your concept to grow in a strategic manner through a mix of revenue channels, menu changes, pricing changes, and demographic changes, all the while quickly adapting to a newly opened competitor without losing your overall vision. Again, the concepts that are scalable are the ones that are crushing it right now. Being sustainable, that means developing a concept that is not just a trend. Everything you stand for must be about making decisions that last longer than you will. This is extremely crucial right now. You need to be thinking into the future. You need to adapt a mindset to include technology where possible. You need to be rethinking the service sequence, and you need to also include environmentally sustainable practices as well. Being profitable, this may sound self-explanatory, but again, the average in the industry was 3 to 5%. Remember, that is not good enough. You need to obtain and maintain a minimum 12 to 20% margin level to be successful in the long term. This means developing a brand that controls costs through a variety of mechanisms, one that surpasses industry average key performance indicators and has contingency plans in place and continuously reduces financial risk. Being memorable, this means building the foundations for incredible culture, flawlessly executing your brand messaging, developing a series of core values and sticking to them, and of course, in-depth marketing efforts. It means developing memorable experiences, whether on-premise or off-premise. And if you are a delivery-only venue, you still have to make it a memorable experience for the customer after that food leaves your venue. You must build instant trust, credibility, and relationships. You need to remember that it is often the little details that guests recall even more than the food and drink that they purchased or the service that they received. And lastly, being consistent. This means having a high level of systems in place. It means having a high level of standards as well. It also means if you can't detect that you have a problem, you cannot correct the problem. You might want to write that one down. One thing that I've also learned over the years is this: the more any hospitality business depends on the owner's day in, day out involvement in the operational details, for example, being the chef or the head bartender of the venue, the greater the risk of failure. Starting and operating a successful restaurant, a bar, pub, lounge, really, heavily relies heavily on having the right systems in place, allowing the venue and its hired team to work as one cohesive unit instead of relying on the ownership's hands-on approach. You've likely heard the saying, work on the business, not in the business. And this is extremely important to plan that right out from the start, even if you have, a desire to be the head chef as well. If you do have that desire, you need a business partner that will help work on the business. Having the correct systems in place will create consistency, develop operating capital, enhance your team morale, and also build business value while positioning your concept for future growth opportunities. Over the past 10 years that we have, worked with or helped start hundreds of businesses, the smallest restaurant, bar, pub, cafe, or lounge we have worked with is, of course, a QSR with 0 seats, plus a dine-in bistro with 18 seats, and the largest had a capacity of just over 500. Each individual venue or concept has its own distinct ways of operating and distinct problems to solve, but the one constant among all of them is their ability to adapt to change. This means adapting to a change in consumer behavior, cost structure, supply chain dynamics, labor dynamics, and their hyper-local market and competition. Now, we're seeing these changes twofold across the world right now with COVID-19. And the reason this change is manageable is because they have adopted the proper methods of planning. The ones out there that are not managing it well are the ones who decided to skip a few steps. When planning, you cannot skip steps. If you were planning to build a house, what would happen if you skipped a few steps? Why do that to your business? The truth to the matter is, I can walk into 90% of the independently operating venues today and learn that their business plan is collecting dust in the bottom of a drawer, if they even had one at all. I also learned that they don't put together quarterly or even yearly marketing plans. They have no idea of who their true customer is. Their brand and concept is confusing. They put photos up of their food up on social media, hoping or wishing to, gain a follower or a sale somehow. They don't do financial projections. They don't know their food or pour costs or other key performance indicators. And then they wonder why they're not breaking even or only making the average 3 to 5% profit margin, right? The plans plus system development that I want to highlight today, especially at the startup stage, will measure the validity of the idea before investing in the concept and in the action plan. It's going to create objectives that will also hold you accountable. They will reduce risk for you, your family, and also investors. They will create a concept that is scalable, sustainable, profitable, memorable, and also consistent. Listen, nothing in life is ever guaranteed. I get it, but some aspects are in your control when it comes to the success of your business, even as we navigate this pandemic, if you approach your business strategic planning with the right mindset. And to meet all of these required characteristics, tasks, milestones moving forward in the current climate or post-pandemic, you need to complete what we like to refer to as a startup map that consists, of the following. So up on the screen is one of our restaurant startup maps. And if you want a copy, I believe we're going to leave a link to it, if not right now at the end of the session. But there is literally over 500 individual tasks that need to be completed prior to opening. And this map only shows about 60 of those tasks. There's a lot to go over, much more than an hour discussion is going to provide, but we will focus on the first phase, which is outlined in the red box at the top. So the first of which is discovery and self-assessment. Opening the doors to a new restaurant is honestly the most satisfying step in the growth process. It's a reason I personally get up excited to go to the office every day, but it's also the final step, one that comes after several months of preparing mentally, physically, and emotionally for the brand's launch. And the simple fact is, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Being an owner in this industry is not for everyone. It's not what it's made out to be on television or across your social media feeds. This industry is cutthroat, plain and simple. If you have the experience in the hospitality industry, the willingness to make sacrifices and possess the required systemized thinking, the social skills, the leadership, creativity, stress management, and passion, then and only then should you consider starting and operating a restaurant, a bar, cafe, pub, lounge, whatever the type of concept you're going to be looking at opening. And if there's one thing that I've learned about bar and restaurant owners after working with them for so many years is that they are, for the most part, incredibly passionate, but also fiercely independent and often a little bit stubborn as well. These characteristics can be both beneficial and also detrimental to their success. You know, the truly successful owners are the ones who combine that passion and independence with the desire to learn and the ability to seek advice and learn from others in the industry. There is no precise time to know, if you're going to be truly ready, but there are a number of steps and resources that you can use to minimize the risk of early failure or even failure at all. For example, take the time to look in the mirror and ask yourself, about the leadership traits that I just mentioned. Be honest with yourself. Do you have what it takes? You then want to ask yourself, and also write down in great detail in your words, not Googled, the answers to the following 5 questions. Again, be as detailed as possible. I have seen 1-page answers and I have seen 12-page answers. Take a guess on which ones often lead to better assessments. So question 1, why do you really want to open a restaurant or bar business? Number 2, explain why you think many restaurant or bars fail within 18 months. Explain the difference between success and also survival. Explain your expectations of profit versus the lifestyle you want to live. And explain how important growth is to you, both personally and in business. Look at your results. Again, be honest with yourself. Don't just start a restaurant because you cook a good steak at home for your friends or family, or start a bar because you love drinking or being the host of the party. This is not intended to be a hobby, okay? This is a business first and foremost. It is a business that serves the local community with a concept that is defined, target markets, both wants and needs. It is a business with investments, sweat equity, and day-to-day objectives. This early recognition, of risks is really, incredibly crucial for the success of any business, and arguably more so for this industry, both pre and also post-COVID. To ensure proper positioning and ongoing success, it's vital for a startup to understand the variety of operational, financial, legal, systematic, and people-related risks to not only developing a new concept or business, but operating one too. Identifying risks from the very early stages will position you and your business to be disciplined and prepared for when things may go wrong down the road. Identifying risks will also help streamline your processes while improving communication and implementing a variety of systematic control methods, something every single restaurant and bar needs for long-term success. But here's the thing, okay? Today, by being here with me, you've actually shown that you're willing to invest in yourself. And that is actually the first step, but ensure you find other ways to invest in yourself and your business as well, right? Read books, aim for 12 books a year and listen to podcasts, maybe 1 a week. Manage your time strategically with a day planner, either in a book or an app. Choose your close network very wisely. Surround yourself with positivity. Take a course to learn new skills within the industry. Take care of your body. Go for walks. Go to the gym. Get out of debt. Plus, save finances where possible. You're going to need it. reinvesting just in your life, make more time for you every single day. Set smart goals and just stop procrastinating and find a mentor, a coach, or an advisor, whether it's personally or professionally. Remember this line: the first opportunity in risk management starts with you. All right. Once you are confident in yourself and have the right support systems around you, then and only then is it time to really move on to that next step. And that next step is developing a feasibility study. And I'm not going to get deep into the how to. Again, we don't have time for that, but I want to highlight the significance of it, the details needed, and the thought process for the current climate and also post-pandemic. A feasibility study is really an essential component of your startup success, but it's a process that many restaurateurs actually skip out on, leading to wasted time and a quick loss of investment. A feasibility study must be conducted in order to determine the potential success rate of your restaurant, bar, or hospitality business, and to minimize the risks related to your startup. It must be used to determine the viability of a hyperlocal market, which is the radius of about 5 miles, and its demographics and socio-demographics, plus the technical viability of just starting your intended concept, the ideal makeup of your location and its competitive nature, the business viability based on industry assessments, and the financial viability of a concept in this space, determining your budget, ensuring it is realistic, and developing the key performance indicators needed for a venue like yours to be successful. So that's what a feasibility study is. Now, here's what you need to look into, research, plan out, and understand now and moving forward. And first up is the market analysis. You need to first understand that the market of consumers for any given brand is based on more than demographic statistics. You need to have those obviously on your states, city, local neighborhoods, of course, but that's fairly easy to obtain. But data on attitudes, lifestyles, activities, and spending habits, how people spend their time and their money, leads to psychographic profiles of a target market. And this is what will make your plan stand out from others, and again, reduce your level of risk and prepare you for other future plans. And ask yourself, what are the true characteristics of your market? Things have obviously changed over the past number of months. Consumer spending is expected to fluctuate post-pandemic, similar nature to post 2008, 2009 economic downturn, right? I am sure we all know more than one person that's been furloughed or has had to rely on financial assistance during this time, right? And at no fault of their own. The extended period of self-isolation and economic uncertainty will change the way consumers behave, and then potentially for years to come. As consumers sheltered and worked from home over the past 6+ months, I guess it's been now, adoption of new digital services took place at really lightning speed. Online ordering delivery was already moving to the forefront, but the pandemic just really accelerated that for many households. Consumer behaviors will likely fluctuate again until we reach that, that new normal or next normal. Most home environments, they've also changed as well, right? It's currently where many of us work, eat, play, and connect with coworkers, families, and friends. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? We don't know yet. Time is going to tell, right? But for many workers out there, the office is now the living room, along with their kids having online school. Many companies are predicting that the work from home quote trend will last at least into 2021 and perhaps even 2022 or longer for some. But with the ongoing threat of COVID and this pandemic, people are finding it difficult to gauge when work and work-related activities end and when leisure and family time begins, because it's all blurred right now. This is going to have an effect on food and beverage purchases and also experiences. There is no longer that standard 3 day parts of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There is no longer just going out for drinks on the Friday and Saturday night. In terms of travel and tourism. While it may take years for that international travel to recover to, pre-COVID levels, domestic travel could, and in many areas has already started to rise. This will have an effect on certain types of restaurant and bar concepts, models, and their choice of location. This is something extremely important to keep in mind. And getting customers to buy will require really this like omni-channel type experience that includes drive-through, curbside pickup, food lockers, catering, and other delivery options that cater to the new emphasis on health, safety, and also convenience. And, in a quick summary, I guess, while it's important to find out the demographics, you also need to know your new audience, their new behaviors, their new spending habits, their new eating and drinking habits, and their new day parts. So as you're going through these exercises, you will probably get, a vision of your ideal guest. It's really imperative that once you collect, organize, and analyze that data, that you create at least 3 different profiles of your target customers based on your area. A sample is up on the screen right now, from a concept that we recently created called Absurd Kitchen. Every person watching this today is likely going to have slightly different profiles as they go through this. If you're targeting ages 21 to 40, create a profile for a 21-year-old, one for a 30-year-old, and one for a 40-year-old. Why? Because they're all going to be different, and they're all likely going through different points in their life, more so now than ever before. You simply cannot target them the same way or think that they're going to have the same guest experience when they're purchasing from your brand. Find out how much they spend on housing, groceries, restaurants, and entertainment. What brands do they navigate towards? What technology do they use? What social channels do they use? What is their day-to-day life look like? You must position yourself to make sound adjustments and pivot moves based on demand, data, guest sentiment, and also brand alignment. So now that you have that key information, you can then formulate a concept that your area both needs and wants, which is a form of business viability. Now that you fully understand your target customers and what they're thinking and doing throughout their typical day, you can actually research and plan your location needs, your business model, your food and beverage programs, brand differentiation through competitive analysis, and outline your technology needs and operations plan. We're creating a concept that also provides cocktail kits, meal kits, or even a meal kit subscription, work best for you, your brand, and your target market. How about introducing first-party or third-party delivery, elevated curbside pickup, the use of QR codes throughout the sequence, educational tastemaker experiences, unique outdoor pod or patio type experiences, or a simplified family meal deal program. That's just to name a few. Which one will work best for you? While validating your business model, take the time to research your intended flavor profile and core menu items as well. What is the trend forecast and cost of those items? Does it align with the current needs and wants of your market? Don't create a chicken brand, for example, with hormone-free and antibiotic-free chicken that is known to be more expensive, and place it into a market with less than average income levels, right? You need to also remember that demographics, customer tastes, and income levels, really facilitate demand for this industry. And that is what's driving a winning business model right now. The menu being small but innovative, localized, improved ingredient quality, precise flavor profiles, concepts, premium, tech-driven, hybrid models, experience-driven, takeout, delivery channels, competition, consolidation, leveraging competitor failures and market oversaturation, and marketing, owning the entire tech experience, building loyalty and repeat business, and social media and video media platforms, target market, millennials, centennials, small niche-driven markets with smaller footprints, beverages, mocktails, local distilled spirits and beers, to-go drinks, kits. Beverage programs can really make a difference of just surviving or making enormous profits right now. And location, suburban, strong regional economies, localized tourism right now, not international. financing, real estate availability, low interest rates, equipment leasing programs, plus on the operations side, multiple revenue streams, looking at 3 to 5 different revenue streams. Basically, what would you want to start? Does that make sense for the market? Does it fit in? Will it be sustainable? These are the questions that you need to answer. So now that you know your market, the competition, the business model, you can test the feasibility of your financial program, including startup requirements. Benefits right now are that there will be nearly turnkey venues sitting empty. There will be high quality used equipment available as well that will help reduce your startup capital. There are ways to save a considerable amount of startup investment right now. And every year we provide a yearly snapshot of the average restaurant startup costs. While we are still working on the 2021 version that will be released later this year, I will provide with a link here that's going to give you access to our 2020 report. Obviously, that was built pre-COVID, but it shows you again the cost categories that you need to know to start a restaurant. Plus, it comes with a really great key milestone checklist. Use this and its percentages as a guide for developing your startup budget. But in summary, the average startup costs were about $247 per square foot. The current situation may allow you the opportunity to get one started for much less than that. Again, this is going to be a great time to look into doing that. There are ways to also be extremely successful with a smaller footprint as well. You don't need a 5,000 square foot restaurant or bar to live a profitable, comfortable life for you and your family. With the right research, planning, development, a smaller 1,000 to 2,000 square foot property that provides less risk and less startup needs will now do the trick if it provides the right revenue mix with the right systems and the right cost control methods. That means getting food and beverage costs below 28%, getting labor costs below 24%, having your rent or lease costs at 6% or less, your marketing at 3 to 4% or less. Again, this is not a pipe dream. This is not unrealistic. It is possible, or should I say feasible. We should not be opening venues until there is a solid plan of realistically reaching these types of targets. All right, so we looked at some of the key elements of a new feasibility study, including what to consider for your market, business, and financials. But switching gears to your concept plan now, no question, every restaurant or food and beverage related establishment starts with a vision and a story. Nearly everything you encounter in life really starts with a story or has a story to tell. That saved concert ticket, a photo of your grandparents, whatever it is. They all have this unique and memorable story, and your concept and your brand should be no different. The truth is, restaurant brands relying on worn out keywords such as locally sourced or handcrafted to tell a story must learn that this is simply not good enough anymore. Restaurants now and moving forward must make their story meaningful, personable, emotional, simple, and also authentic. Despite the word story, it isn't even confined to the written word anymore. Colors, decor, vendors, staff members, plating, glassware, packaging, even the simplest visual segments within your brand messaging, both online and offline, can all paint a picture worth 1,000 words. Your concept and brand story should start, however, by first defining and developing your core values and your 4 core statements, which are vision, mission, values, and also culture. Your brand personality and culture are what makes your brand unique. This should be reflected in your restaurant's conceptual planning, through a strong and human brand voice. You should ensure you have culture-focused systems in place that make sure stories lived by all staff, from leadership down to entry-level positions, are easily shareable. In a true and managed storytelling culture, everyone participates. Everyone has stories that they live that are worth sharing with your target market. Even with the flow of technology-focused systems that we have right now, the ones that strike a balance are the ones that win. It's now the time to humanize your brand. While storytelling has been around since the start of mankind, in today's climate, we have at our disposal more tools than ever before to tell our stories. Let's not waste this opportunity. So this modern concept plan must help shape the idea and concept into a tangible form of character, heart, and soul, giving your concept a visual personality. That's developing a brand guide with logos and colors and core values, the core statements, positioning statements, plus a food and beverage guide, equipment guide, details on your technology stack, a vision board of interior and exterior fit outs, test drawings, and cost or budget updates. And in terms of your food and beverage guide, for example, okay, you must now take a multi-sensory approach. Your food and beverage menu must play on the fact that guests not only taking pleasure through taste, but also from the positive emotions and memories that flavors they might evoke, which is taste, smell, and visual senses. They're really forever interlinked into our memories, right? Whether they eat in the restaurant now, on the patio, in their car, at their home, or anywhere else. When you truly understand your target market, you can extract those emotions and personalize the food and beverage experience through the use of effective storytelling. If executed properly, stories can stick in the guest's mind much longer than a memory of a bite of food or a glass of wine might. Are you starting to see how all of this starts to work together and really come full circle? But further understanding the core menu items early on in your concept plan will allow your startup to plan the kitchen and the bar areas, and also determine the estimated food and beverage price points. You don't have to have your entire menu completed, but a solid idea that flows with the remainder of your concept is required. And remember, we're also entering a time where small menus are actually winning. You no longer need 60 to 80 menus or items on your menu. You don't even need 32 items anymore, which was kind of something that we were recommending over the past few years. You can actually have a successful restaurant with multiple day parts with a menu of just 10 to 12 items. This has so many benefits, including the ability to maximize smaller footprints, lowering your startup needs, creating a niche, lowering and controlling food and beverage costs, ultimately creating less waste, and plus just easier training requirements leading to better consistency. The food and beverage programs and experiences also moving forward must also shape your guests' understanding of the hyper-local region by supporting local farms, local vendors, and local culture. It is anticipated that actually moving forward that the trend will be that consumers we'll expect venues to rely less on imported food and beverage goods while also using more locally produced items within a 75-mile radius due to the support local initiatives and the need to embrace local culture, the current and probably future supply chain and cross-border restrictions due to the pandemic, and quite honestly, just simply more robust, less traveled, fresh flavors. And to do this, the menu must be small, it must be targeted and balanced, and it should be a diverse and exciting menu. And every item, needs to equally be the top seller. So based on the menu though, what plating, takeout containers, and glassware styles are going to be required? If you have a heavy takeout and delivery focus, will those takeout containers keep your product quality intact by the time it reaches the intended customer? What is the cost of these more premium containers? Does it fit within your budget? These are the questions that need to be answered in the planning stage, right? Know your core menus are also going to position you early on to determine your key food and beverage suppliers, and also begin mapping out possible supply chain solutions in addition to any challenges that you may face to meet the demands of your concept as well in terms of food and beverage, right? Knowing your menu will also help with knowing how much equipment you're going to need, with new concepts, revenue mixes, and business models. So, we're discussing the size of kitchens and bars are changing. The average kitchen, for example, used to, equate to approximately 20 to 28% of the overall space. Now it is actually growing in some concepts as dining rooms are being reduced. We have to throw a lot of these old benchmarks out the window and adapt to the changing environment. Remember this or write this one down as well. We can no longer rely on analysis like revenue per seat or per square foot like we used to. We have to develop a concept that focuses on the experiences first and foremost, whether on premise or off premise. And with that mindset and type of planning, the revenue and profits will follow. So we are now seeing, the development also of, quote, smart kitchens and bars. We are seeing the development of virtual kitchens and ghost kitchens. We are seeing a new evolution of how brands utilize food trucks. We are seeing kitchens and bars placed outside, right on the patio, elevating the outdoor experience and reducing the need for interior fit outs, again, pending obviously your market area. But so just very quickly, I mentioned smart kitchen. What is a smart kitchen or bar? It's beyond the purchase of your basic commercial kitchen or bar equipment that you need. You should consider investing in new kitchen or bar technology that can improve your kitchen or bar's workflow. For example, there are food safety management systems that help keep food inspectors happy and your customers healthy by streamlining food safety regulations and compliance and paperwork. There is remotely controlled equipment where your refrigerator could actually track and reorder inventory on your behalf. There is bar inventory systems that can track liquor bottle movements and draft beer inventory as it's poured. There are kitchen display systems that obviously replace those old school kitchen receipt printers by improving communication between your team while being hooked up to now online ordering systems. There are cook and hold combi ovens that can basically do everything. Even providing the effects of a deep fryer. There are smart beer tap systems that activate when a glass is placed under them, increasing that efficiency by pouring 2 drinks at once. While this technology and the equipment can be quite pricier than its standard alternatives, the tools actually pay for themselves through the use of their efficiency. So something to definitely look into. And quickly, what is a virtual kitchen and a ghost kitchen? Okay, a ghost kitchen, for example, is a professional, often third-party food preparation or cooking facility set up for the prep of delivery-only meals. A ghost kitchen contains the kitchen equipment and the facilities needed for the preparation of those restaurant meals, but actually has no dining area for walk-in customers, and many don't even have exterior branding at all. While not completely mainstream, ghost kitchens are evolving and entering markets all across North America right now. And then unlike the ghost kitchen, virtual kitchens, they don't rent kitchen space through the use of a third party. They have brick and mortar locations. They use their kitchens to support online orders, maybe even some takeout, but primarily obviously through online ordering. And more often than not, they actually have, delivery exclusive menus as well. You need to look at what is needed to maximize your potential to hit the needed requirements of a kitchen and bar moving forward as it relates to your intended concept. Again, I'm not saying that virtual kitchens and ghost kitchens are the only way forward. Dine-in restaurants and bar concepts are not dead, but there is a way to develop new exciting concepts that's maybe a hybrid of 2 or more styles, that maximize the variety of revenue channels needed to succeed in this new world. That is what needs to be planned out and clearly answered at this stage of the game. While there are other components of a concept plan, including architectural details and test drawings, I want to touch base a little bit just on the tech stack and customer journey map. Until COVID struck, many North Americans spent money on away from home food and at home consumption. Restaurants and bars really had been the space, in addition to the home and the workplace, where relationships had been formed, incubated, and maintained. All right. Restaurants must now consider all visual cues that will signal a safe environment to consumers, including that of a venue that is or has the option to be 100% contactless. Brands that focus on the health of their employees and customers, that deliver the the meals and dining experiences that consumers crave, that manage their capital wisely and look after the corporate health of their business are, again, the brands that will uncover those opportunities. We must align a variety of technology components and create what we like to refer to as a tech stack that communicates with one another. This means aligning your point of sale with processes that allow for taking payments and orders both on-premise and off-premise, simultaneously, while providing inventory management and reservation systems, plus kitchen, bar, and shift management tools. That means aligning systems that communicate directly to the required prep stations via the kitchen monitors. It means aligning delivery platforms, orders, and drivers, whether first party, third party, or last mile. It means aligning takeaway, click and collect, food locker activations, and mobile order ahead technology. It means aligning drive-through technology, social media, websites, and loyalty programs. It means aligning analytics, reports, and accounting practices. A winning stack of technology really will provide a system that integrates and communicates with one another. And to understand what consumer-facing technology is needed for your concept, you also need to know the customer profiles that I mentioned earlier. And this is where putting together a journey map is incredibly important. An example of one is up on the screen from the one project, Absurd Kitchen. Create one that will tell the story of each experience for each consumer profile you created in the feasibility study, from initial contact through the process of brand engagement, eating or drinking, and then into a long-term relationship. You need to own that entire experience, whether on-premise or off-premise. You need to understand what they're thinking, seeing, feeling during each and every interaction, right? Ask yourself this: how many restaurants that have failed have had all of this planning and thought processes so far in place, right? This is how you build a successful restaurant beyond 2020. This is how you build a successful restaurant in the current climate and also post-pandemic, no matter the choice of concept. So when a concept development is complete, it will then assist in completing the strategic business plans by preparing you for capital requirements, budget limitations, construction-related options, space planning, lease requirements, and overall day-to-day operations, right? What is a business plan? It is the action plan that elaborates on the feasibility study and concept plan. It's a document that should feature in-depth analysis, competitive landscapes, team development strategies, licensing and permits needs, industry reports, and numerous financial statements. And rule number one, all right, when developing a business plan, do not use a basic fill-in-the-blank template or take someone else's business plan, change the name and a few key points, and then call it your own. Don't cheat yourself. Don't cheat your brand in the planning process. It will catch up to you, I promise. You also need to have a contingency plan within the business plan. This is more important now than ever before. How many restaurants operating have a contingency plan in place? Prior to March 2020, probably only a couple percent. Now it is a must. I cannot stress enough the importance of sitting down and planning out what you will do if things do not go as planned, if there's a local disaster, or if now, a second or third wave or a future pandemic type crisis. Put together a 96-hour plan followed by an outline of plans for 30, 60, and 90 days. Cash flow projections and creating action plans around that is absolutely critical. Making principle-based decisions and thinking long-term is critical. What would happen and needs to happen when your business is hitting 10%, 25%, 50%, or even 90 to 100% less revenue than projected? Have a scenario outlined for each. Determine your cash burn, your break-even point, and your areas of cost that can be immediately cut. So I have to ask, very quickly, could you imagine submitting all of these documents and details to a bank or investor, or even a business partner or a landlord? You will be rewarded for your detailed homework. You will immediately stand out from the other average at best plans that are out there. I can absolutely promise you that, right? So before we wrap up, I just want to say, for us, developing the required feasibility studies, concept plans, brand guides, the business plan, and the financial playbooks usually take 45 to 60 days. For the average person, it takes about 6 months, in addition to the inclusion of some mentors and help along the way, which is obviously just fine. That's okay. But this is why so many open without these plans in place, because of the time and the effort it takes. I just showed you a very brief selection of what needs to be done to win in this climate and moving forward. I really just scraped the surface. There's a lot of work to do, but if you skip these critical plans, you will struggle through the startup phase, the launch phase, and also the operating phase. You need to research, be detail oriented, utilize organizational skills, communication, and action planning. It can all be done, and you can do this, but they are all needed more so now than ever before. We must hit that reset button and not open a restaurant because it's the cool thing to do. That's been done, and that's why many markets were oversaturated. We have to start with a business mindset, right? Like I said, starting a restaurant or bar is not for everyone. You have to come into this with a clear head, the right planning, the right systems, the right discipline, and the right business forward mindset. I would rather you save your finances now if you are not truly ready. Don't just add yourself to the failing statistics. There are many other ways to grow in this industry, make money, and to wake up and be happy to go into work every day. But if you are ready, you are in for the ride of your life. As much as it is scary, it really is rewarding. That's my time for today. I hope this information will help you align your plans to prepare for the future. There was an absolute ton that we touched on today. Thank you again to Clarion Events for being the host, and thank you for taking the time to sit in on this session with me. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. You can also reach me at KRG Hospitality on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or Doug Radkey on LinkedIn and Facebook, or at krghospitality.com. Thank you for your time. Please stay safe and healthy.
Well, Doug, thank you so much for your time and for this terrific presentation. I'm sure we all definitely learned a lot, and our audience has been asking a few questions.
Okay.
I do want to just say we'll probably only be able to get to one or two of them because we are reaching the top of the hour. If people want to reach out to you directly, you can leave your contact information up there, and they will be able to do that.
Perfect.
One of the questions is from somebody who is looking to open a coffee shop, 1,900 square foot coffee shop, and they're trying to figure out their budgeting and also for the build out and other things that they need to do. What's sort of the first step in them doing that, and is this sort of what this your book and your planning can help with?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the one document that is shared, I believe you shared those links.
Yes, they're both in the
One
chat.
startup. So there is a startup guide in there, and they can actually just take that information and plug in, 1,800 square feet and work out the percentages of, standard startup costs. And obviously that's from scratch. If you find a location that's, already has some components in there, you're obviously going to save, some time and some money there as well. But the best thing to do is, start with that square footage. And work your way backwards from there, and make sure that you also have the multiple, revenue streams included in that design now moving forward. Like I said, make sure you have, a takeout and delivery kind of area that's separate from maybe your dine-in or your cafe guests, right?
Terrific. Thank you very much. And several people are just asking if the presentation will be made available, and it definitely will. We will get this presentation out in email to everybody who registered. It'll also be on our foodandbev.com website within the coming days. One other question before we let you go. It's specific about the minimum wage, and if Amendment 2 is passed and the minimum wage does increase to $15 an hour, how do you absorb that kind of an increase? Now, especially with people looking to build a new restaurant.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have to work that into your plans. How you would recommend doing that is, look at completing a mock schedule and work out to see how much it's actually going to cost you over the, in terms of a week or 2 weeks. And then look at ways that you can either, control some costs in some other areas. I don't like to use the word cut costs too much. We need to control costs, not cut costs. But then, look at, what your market, and again, knowing your markets and what they're willing to spend, see if there's ways that you can absorb that and maybe increasing, menu items by, 25, 50 cents or whatever it ends up having to be. But, do those analysis, work your way, backwards, have those numbers to back it up. In a lot of our areas, we have a higher than average labor costs, a lot higher minimum wage in many of the states, right? And we're able to be successful in those areas. So there is ways to do it. You just have to, do some very strategic planning around that.
Okay. Terrific. And thank you again. Just to mention that those links that Doug was talking about are in the chat box at the bottom of the screen. If you want to copy those down, we will also include them in with the presentation link when we send that out. So thank you, Doug, again for a terrific presentation, and thank you to our audience for attending today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.